Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. Welcome to a brand new build, part 1 of Build the Colonial Shuttle MK II. This is a cosmic scale models kit. If you're not familiar with cosmic scale models, you need to go check them out. Here's the website for you. And Keith over there is just a first-class gentleman, and he's got a wonderful site. He's got all kinds of accessories and models and incredible kits. And he is more than happy to help you out. He ships all over the world. And here, I'll show you one more time, so in case any of you are wanting to get a hold of Keith at Cosmic Scale Models, this is how you do it. If you have any questions, he will be more than happy to oblige. He's a awesome human being, and these are great kits. I mean, they really are. Several years ago, this kit came out, and it's been lovingly built by a lot of talented people. So I left it alone for a little bit, but now it's time for me to have one that's not in the box, because they don't belong in a box. They belong in a display case or somewhere where you can enjoy them. So we're going to build it. I'm very excited. Okay. This kit is it's 1/72 scale is what it's being promoted at. Not entirely sure I really understand spaceship scale, but hey, we'll go along with it. Now I know there's been some refinements and some changes to this and he's done some really nice things to it. There's also some accessories you can get for this. There's a base I know you can get for this, and you can build this either in the flight position or you can have it with its landing gears down. And you can also either close up the cargo entrance, or you can have the cargo entrance down. If you have the cargo entrance down, you can display the land ram. And here's this is a separate model that's available for you. It's a beautiful 3D print. Now I don't know if newer versions of this come with the tractors separately, the tracks separately, because it would be sure nice if they were. But let's go through and look at everything. Here's your box. So let's take a look at that first. It's quite a hefty box, and it is the model will come in at a really impressive 14 inches in length. Now these boxes, when they come, everything is beautifully wrapped and secure, and these boxes are really good. So they're not cheap. So definitely, for shipping purposes, these boxes will stand the test of time. So really, that's a good thing. What am I hearing in there? It would be nice if I checked the box for all the parts, wouldn't it? Rocket science, not here. Okay, detail is extraordinary. Not a tremendous amount of parts, but that's okay. But all kinds of interesting things in here. There is, for instance, some of the details on this 3D print are really beautiful. So I want you to see everything. Let's start with the exterior and work our way inside. So it's a clamshell, right? Two parts, top and bottom. And it's got locator pins. Now, it feels quite, to the touch, it feels quite delicate. It doesn't feel quite, like you can't manhandle this thing. That's how it feels. However, once you start to put the floor in and the cockpit floor on top of that, it's going to really strengthen it up. And but you do want to be extra careful pulling these parts. I'm not yanking on it. I'm delicately just prying it open here, because you don't want to snap your locator pins. That is the amazing thing about these kits, by the way. They have locator pins, clearly built lovingly by a modeler for modelers. So I really appreciate that. I love locator pins that work. When they're on a styrene kit and they're coming out of those hot presses and they move a microsecond, nothing's going to line up. The only thing you can do is snip them off. Here, no, this has come beautifully together. It is a 3D print, although I think they use a special technique. I don't think it's a straight off of a printer because of just the way it feels and the delicate nature of it. So here's the top. And it's got lovely details in the back. So there's plenty there to sort of clean up and get some dry rubbing on there and some washes and really make that look good. Some very clean panel lines, very nice, and it's nice and crisp. On the inside, you don't have you got just a little bit of detail there, but I think that's sort of part of the of how it was printed. It's not something you'll see. No need. I'm not going to put any kind of clear window on this. I'm going to leave this exposed. And I think that's probably the best way to do it because there isn't a tremendous amount of opportunity to see in here, but there's no reason to put windows on this, in my opinion. And here's the bottom half of your clamshell. Lots of detail underneath, nice and crisp panel lines, and very, very clean for your ports. Now you can see he gives you a choice of either putting this in flight, in which case you can drop this piece in and hide your undercarriage, or you can go with the undercarriage open, and then here are the flap doors that just drop in like this, and you'll have it in that position. And I think obviously that's what I'm going to do, so that I can put it on its feet. And I'm looking to see. Let's see. I've got my my engines here, and here are my feet. Here are the landing gears right here. So that they just sort of they drop in. And what I appreciate about what he does is the thought process here is extraordinary. So this is obviously FR front right, and so in the correct orientation, this sits like this. Let's see here. Which way would this go? No, oh, it probably goes in this way. Yeah, it sits like that. So you can have it in its flying position or its landing position. Here is your cargo bay door, and so that's it in the closed. That's it in the closed position, and in the open position, it will be like that. It'll come down like that, and that's most likely what I will actually probably do is I don't know whether I'll have it in the landed position or whether I'll have it in the closed position like that, and just have this land ram sitting here. Don't know. I'll think about that. Obviously, with it down, it means you do have an opportunity to see inside and put some detail in there and light that up. So that's definitely something to think about. So that is the top and bottom of the ship. So I'm going to set those aside for a second. Here is the floor, which has got some really nicely built-in supports underneath here, and so that just sits on the floor here like this, and so that's how that sits in. And so it does give you an opportunity to see all the way back here. So if you want to add some elements, you certainly can. But once this goes in, it does feel a little more substantial. So that's interesting. So that's the floor. we looked at the cargo bay door. Here is the floor of the cockpit, and you know, it's got a hatch opening that will allow you to go down to the cargo bay, and then it's got a door in the rear here, and you can either have that open in the open position. I guess if you wanted to put you know, something behind here and have somebody coming in, you certainly could. If you don't want to do that, here's the door, and that goes on like that, and that looks pretty cool. So again, that's the closed position, and then if you wanted to, you could have it in the open position like that. So that's fun. Just a nice little detail, depending on how, you know, how far you want to go with your details. But I really like the idea that you've got those choices. We've got four sets of we've got bench seats here, and there's 3 of those. Extraordinary detail. Extraordinary detail. Really beautifully printed. So we've got 3 of those. We've got control chairs here. We've got some engine cowlings. There's 4 of those with the blades inside. If you wanted to light this, you could. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Here are your engines. There's 4 engines. Nice detail. Lots of details on the pipes. Open all the way through if you want to wire them up with a way to put wire in. And of course, each engine is marked as to where their location is, and that is incredibly appreciated. We looked at the landing gears themselves. Here's the ladder that goes down to the cargo bay. Again, just incredibly crisp print. Really nice. There is there's an applique here with some detail on it, and that's going to go in the back of the ship. And then you've got, which we talked about, if you want to be closed, in the closed position, you would use these. And if you want to be in the open position, you want to use these. Incredibly delicate. Incredibly delicate. So you've got to be careful. Now, I know in a previous incarnation, there were some tabs on here. And when my friend Lou over at Aztec Dummy built this, he called that out. And now these, I'm noticing that there's no tabs on these. So Keith took that to heart and removed them. Bravo, I say. And here are some control surface features that are just ridiculous. I mean, it's almost impossible to appreciate on camera just the incredible detail that you get. And then, of course, you've got folks, you've got peeps, you've got people standing and sitting, and, you know, crew members standing around, doing all kinds of things. So if this is, you could have a couple of them down in the cargo hold. You could, you know, have a couple of them sort of just standing by on the deck, waiting for takeoff. But here's the crew that are going to be sort of flying the ship. Everybody else are sort of clients or customers getting a ride. You've got in here in this little baggie. Let me open this up quickly here for you. You've got these wonderful hydraulic, I can't say that properly, hydraulic pieces that you can attach to the sides of the the lowered door, and there's an illustration here of how these pistons work. So there those edges are. And then, of course, here's the land ram, which is sold separately, but it's going to be great to have the land ram, you know, coming down, just coming down the ramp if you want to display it that way, or at the bottom of the ramp parked, or however you want to do it, depending on how, you know, the scale of your diorama. And then, of course, you've got decals that you can pick up. You've got a set that come with it. And then you've got additional decals if you want. They're all available from Keith's website. So lots there. And the one clear piece, which of course is your control console. If you want to light it up, it's set up. If you don't drop it, it's set up to be lit. And there it is. And you can get some light in there and fire this up. And I don't think I will be doing that. I just don't know. And I always change my mind. I don't know, but I don't think I am. I don't think I am. Some wonderful decals that come with this. Now I know in a previous incarnation there were some white ones on here, but they're not here anymore. There is some alternative registry stuff that you can use. Very clean. You do have to cut these out as individuals. They're not pre-cut, but you just get as close. They're on clear film, so as long as you use an acrylic varnish, you shouldn't have any silvering, and these should go down quite beautifully. They're very clean. You can see the raised nature of them. They're just beautifully done decals. So that's good. There is a sort of a somewhat paint guide here to give you some ideas. And show you where all your decals go. So that's kind of fun, and I think very helpful. Not a lot of decals to put on, but I think enough to really give this some nice zip. And then, of course, he gives you a really nice instruction manual, beautifully printed. So there's the front cover. As you flip it over, you get a parts list. Very nice parts list, so you can sort of make sure you've got everything you need. And then here you've got your cargo deck, and some really valuable instruction here on what happens if you've got a part that's slightly warped, how you cut these. So that you risk, you don't risk breaking anything. And then, of course, a warning that if you're going to sand, use a respirator while sanding resin, or wet sanded, obviously. And so there's all of that. Here's some some decals you put on the cargo deck. So if you look inside, you can see what's going on. So that's nice. And it also says, it says you may wish to construct the kit in a different order depending on whether you are adding lighting or not. So there you go. That makes perfect sense. And then, of course, you've got these wonderful little greeble parts from the sprue that I showed you, very tiny ones that you can add to the cargo bay or the cockpit. I've got some additional greeblies of my own I may put on this. And, obviously showing you how to close up the hull and the addition of your engines. And then, of course, finally, your landing gears, which make up the final part. And on the back, you've got some wonderful information about the Type 2 short-range flight shuttle, its history, and what it was used for, which is great fun. So there you go. Lots of detail, really fun, not tremendously difficult to put together. It's more about sort of there's a lot to paint here and a lot of stuff to deal with. So we're going to dive in. The first thing we're going to do is obviously get a coat of primer on everything. It'll probably take a couple of coats, I would imagine. And then we will think about getting this glued down inside. And so we'll do that. We'll do that first. So I'm going to get a coat of primer on everything, and then we'll start the assembly process. Okay. While my primer's drying, I thought we'd tackle the undercarriage just a little bit. The landing gear doors need a little bit of cleanup. So I've got my Sonic Saber on the bench here, and I'm working away at these little supports here. Have to come off, and just to make sure I don't snap anything, I'm using the Sonic Saber, and it's that easy, just to touch them and to gently remove the support, just gently, and then just a little bit of trim like that. And I've got one on the other side here, so we'll remove that one. You only have to just touch the blade against the surface, and the high frequency sonics do all the rest. And it's a beautiful thing, because you know you don't really want to put a knife in there. I found in the past that when I've tried to be a little too rough with delicate parts, that you end up snapping something. And these are paper thin. It's impressive to me that they were able to print these. So however this is being done, whatever the factory is doing this, they've got some serious equipment, I think. Because I just don't know how you do something like this and keep the detail and keep it as delicate as they're keeping it. It's quite extraordinary. But the idea here with these landing gear flaps is you don't glue them into the undercarriage. They sit there, and according to the instructions, it's the landing gear itself that is going to actually provide the support to hold these down. So that's two. And got these to do now. I don't know if you can hear this. I don't think you probably can. The frequency is probably just too high, but I can hear it. I can hear it. See, there's a little bit here, and so rather than risk sort of sanding it or whatever, I just run the blade across it, and it picks that up, cleans it right up. And there's a little bit of gunk there, right here. Hard to see, but it's just a there. Very nice. I see a little bit there. So I'm just gonna clean that up. Very nice. And then smooth these down. Quite therapeutic, isn't it? But when I don't speak, I know there's a lot of you have me on in the background, and it's like, what's going on? I don't hear anything. It's me zenning out over here. I thought we would do Zen mode today. One more here. Last one. Very good. And on this side. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna just sand these down to finish this up. Yeah, very paper thin, so I can see something wanting to snap if you're not thinking. And of course, the other issue is going to be if you want to install these prior to paint so that everything is, you know, looking good. I think you got to paint these separately and put them on last. I really do. I don't think you can afford to. Although, you know, it's one of those things that you your process of how you install and finish. I can see how, you know, once these are glued, if you have to put this thing on its, you know, if you have to do anything under there, you're going to snap something. I can see that happening quite easily. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Everything is nice and clean. Now, I will tell you, from a safety perspective, they do when you buy these sonic sabers, it's the kind of technology that's actually used in hospitals to cut flesh open. Can you imagine that? It's kind of not a pleasant thought, but it's true. And so you do have to be careful, because I can see how it would be very easy for you to slice your finger and not really be aware that you've done it. You got to be careful. Definitely got to be careful. But I don't know, you know, cleaning up parts, I don't know how you guys feel about this. There's something incredibly zen about it. I just can't explain it. It's like when you can sit on your bench alone, uninterrupted, and there's no one to bother you, and it's just you and a sanding stick and this little part that you're just lovingly moving out. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love it. Okay, so those are good. Those are all good to go. Don't think... I'm looking at this clear part. There's a little bit of... When you print these, it's a skill to figure out where to put your supports. Obviously, you're not going to put them on your detail. Well, obviously, I say obviously. I can't tell you how many times I would just push auto support and they'd spray everywhere. I learned my lesson. Nothing really to clean up. It's just if you take this stuff off, you know, I'm going to take these off to paint them. The benches are already off. The people should stay on, although I should definitely remove And I can probably do that better with a knife rather than is just snap off these little supports that there. So I'm just there, that's perfect. So that there's nothing interfering with these. They're ready to paint. Super delicate, but I'm wondering if the yeah, it's the thing about the saber saw is you just don't run the risk of damaging anything. That's why you do that. But leaving them on these little support rafts here is the best way to paint them. And of course, we all know, well, I say we all know, I didn't know, but I do now, that seated figures for the most part usually get their legs amputated so that you can sit them properly at whatever chair they're going to sit at. But we won't do that until we've test fitted everything and we see which legs have to go. It's kind of crude, but it works. Very good. Very, very good. Boy, the detail on these helmets. I do want to show you something here. I don't know if I can get you close enough. Of course, now everything is in... there we go. There. Look at the lower part of that helmet. Isn't that extraordinary? And in person, I can even see, you know, the belt details and the buckles and everything. It's quite something. It really is. Okay, so I'm going to continue to clean up these parts. And once I've got everything cleaned up, I'm going to get a coat of primer on all of these. And the next thing we're going to look at is the interior. Make some painting decisions, and then we'll hit it. I think I'm going to be going to my trusty insignia white. I think that's how we're going to paint this. It's a white gray, and then what we'll do is we'll just soften that back with some white, just to give it some texture. Because this is going to get a sort of a dusting pass anyway, and then some panel wash. I think we're not going to go too crazy, but we definitely are going to need to do that to create some very, very, very needed contrast. Okay, well, that's all the figures. So I'm gonna get some primer on my engines. I'm gonna glue on my cows that I've cleaned up. I'm going to glue those onto the back. There's no reason not to. And we might need a little bit of putty in there, I'm not sure. But progress. There's always progress. Okay, back in a flash. While you've been away, I've been playing. I have put the pause on painting my clear part, because I am considering, I don't know why, but I am considering lighting it up. Anyway, I've got some Evans Design chip Pico with magnet wires, very thin, and I think they would light this up quite nicely. where I put the wires and run them and do all that nonsense, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It just becomes a royal, you know what. Anyway, maybe it's a little 3-volt battery that I hide somewhere because you've got this big opening, you know, in the front of the cargo hold. But anyway, putting that aside for a second, I have been thinking that because you can see in to the lower cargo hold, I wanted to do something on the walls just to give them, you know, just a texture. And I have in my stash of, you know, it's a bucket of stuff called crap you might need one day. And I have this mat that is, it comes with a big lazy Susan that I use sometimes for putting models on to paint them and that sort of thing. But I you know, it's supposed to be non-stick. It's rubbery and it looks really cool. And so I've been playing with it and I think it looks really cool. Take a look. So what I've done is I've cut a piece out just to test it. And I've laid it against the hull here. And then when you drop in your bottom against it, I think you get a really interesting look. And I'm thinking that maybe I might do that all the way along on both sides. Now, you don't need to, I don't think I need to do it to the top. First of all, you know, I don't think you'll see that. Let me drop this on real quick and look. But I don't think you will. Well, that's not true, but it is true because if you put once the I don't know why I'm in sorry about that. While you're, you know, when I'm looking down here and I'm realizing that my cockpit roof is going to obscure an awful lot of it. So what I have to figure out now is just exactly where that cockpit roof goes to determine whether or not I need to do it on the tops and the bottoms, or whether I just do the top and I paint the top black. I think, or white, as I suppose, so that you could see this. It's very cool. I'm definitely going to do it because it really adds something, I think, to the detail of this model. It's a shame you're not going to see an awful lot of it, but let me grab the roof section here. Let me grab the roof section, and what we'll do is we'll take a look. I've got it right here. It should be dry enough for me to handle. Okay. So roof section goes in like thisage, and then when you drop that down and you hold it, you're going to see the top as well. But I think I'm only going to do it to the lower section, because the top section, what I can do with this top section is I can just I can mottle it. I can get the airbrush and I can mottle it just so you get the impression that it continues. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut all these pieces out, and then that way I can glue them against the side here. Once I've got this panel how I want it, this floor panel. And I think the color I'm going to go with here is it's called bare metal silver, and I think that's the color we're going to go for on this floor. You know, it's a good industrial metal surface, and it'll look good. And most likely I'll probably actually hit the hole inside with the bare metal silver, and then I can pick up the girders, the beams on the side. I can pick those up with a different color just to give it some contrast. And I've got this little piece in the back that this little sort of panel in the back I can figure out what to do with. But I think that's going to make a difference just in terms of, you know, some detail, because you will see a little bit of something in there. You're not going to see a lot because it's going to go into shadow, especially if it isn't lit. Now, of course, if I decide to light it and it is in the landing position, I do have this really cool way of lighting things now. Now, this is a 3D printed box that was kindly designed for me by my good friends over at 3D Fig Lab. Check them out, 3dfiglab@gmail.com. Drop them a line and say, hey, send me your brochure. I want to see your STL files. And they'll hook you up. But they designed this for me, and I first used it on my Kraken. But it's a battery box. The great thing about this is I've got a little clip here, and I can put this just next to this ship, and I can run an umbilical cord underneath and through, and I can light this puppy. How about that? Haha, right? And I think that's the way to go. I love this box, and it can be, you know, perhaps they'll make several designs of it. You know, for future, you'll really appreciate the box, because if you're putting models statically parked, it's a great way to light them and not have to drop a whole bunch of gunk into the bottom. It just becomes a whole thing. This is so clean, and a 9-volt battery, you can just pop off the lid and replace it, and off you go. I'm a big fan of this battery box. It's the Sprueverse battery box. Patented. Okay, so I'm going to get some bare metal on the inside of this. We're going to do a insignia white on the outside. It's my go-to spaceship gray white for the base coat, and then we're going to hit it with another white, because it's gonna need it. So lots going on here. Happy about this detail. Everything is priming as we speak, but I'm really I'm excited about that. I have got some other gunk here. There's all kinds of stuff that Keith makes. He's got these Viper Bay accessories in 1/72 scale, and I have in my possession here some tools, wonderful little tools. So here's a toolkit, and then I've also got a little it's a sort of I'd call it a you know, it's a what is it? You know, it's like it's a power generator box. You bring it over, and you know, you can move stuff around. It could be a forklift. I don't know what it is, but it's fun. So you've got that, and then you've got this wonderful little tow bar here, and he gives you that as well. Here's the little tow bar. So I'm thinking, if I'm in the park position, which I'm probably now committing to the park position, aren't I? Given that I've just talked about the battery box and lighting this thing. So you also get some decals with it to put on your battery box. Look at that. Nothing, no stone left unturned, as they say. Very good. Okay. So that's sort of fun, and I think I'm sort of committing here to that, because then you can see inside, and I can go to town a little bit on the inside of this. Okay, so let me get some bare metal silver on here, and then I think I'll do these beams in maybe a dark gray, I think. Maybe. So let's take a look at that. Having a bit of a change of heart. One might call it an existential crisis. Others might call it a waste of time. I don't know. Just wanted to give you some of my thinking and what I'm doing here. Um, I'm still not entirely sure I'm going to be lighting this thing. I don't know. I feel like it needs some light just so we can look inside the cockpit. Although, you know, and I'll show you what I've done to the cockpit in just a second. I have to say that the cockpit's pretty sparse, and even if you go ahead and light the front panel, which you certainly could do, there's room, you know, the console was printed in such a way that you're supposed to be able to put light in there. Now, I say supposed to be able to because, you know, I don't know. I feel like, and this is taking absolutely nothing away from Keith and nothing away from this model because it's a fun model and I highly recommend it. But as I become a little more wizened in my my builds, you know, I build quite a bit, and I feel like I'm starting to grasp some concepts and improve some skills. And in doing so, one of the things that struck me, especially now I've just finished the Kraken II and those STO files, is I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled because the channels created to pull wires through, pre-printed in, you know, and then the way you hide those wires and where they go and a place to put a battery or a board. I'm spoiled now because it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. I mean, yes, there's kits that, you know, you get kits that have got pre-drilled holes and resin kits that are poured with holes in them that you can push wires through. Awesome. But this was really thought through. I mean, it really was. And so when you come to a model like this, which is a beautiful kit, it's beautifully produced, but it wasn't really, in my opinion, it wasn't really designed with the with the, you know, the sort of the lighting, go ahead and light this kind of plan. Just wasn't. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it takes an additional bit of engineering. And so I feel like, well, okay, if you're going to start looking for places to put LEDs or tape or little SMDs or chips, and I started going down that rabbit hole, and I'm going to put blue chips in the console, and then I thought to myself, you know, you can't see it really through the windows. You just cannot see it. You can't see anything, and in fact, it's pretty dark in there. So if you want to see some of your work, not just the not just the sort of the cockpit / lounge where everybody hangs out, which is kind of bizarre, but the cargo bay, because it strikes me that this ship is a little utilitarian and it's got a military kind of purpose to it. Well, why wouldn't you have jumper seats up top and a separate cabin for people who are being transported, and maybe even for the military, jump seats downstairs, you know, in the cargo bay? Why wouldn't you have that? I mean, that makes more sense to me, but nay, we do not have that. We have what we have, and we're grateful for it. So please, do not confuse my whining for complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out that I think it would be really cool, Keith, if you're watching, to maybe have two versions, you know, one that is designed to be wired and one that isn't, because, or just the one that's going to be wired has a little more design elements in it to cover things or to place things, you know, to chase wires and figure that out. I don't know. Okay, I've made this this little box, which the idea is that this strip light sits in it like this, and then I have a little bit of diffusion that goes over, and I create a light box. That's the plan. Oh, it's popped off the back. That's nice. Well done, Phil. But anyway, that's the plan. If I can actually get my my MEK here to bite, this acrylic plastic might not be suited, the black I'm talking about, not the white, for MEK. That could be a reality. Okay. Well, I'll let that dry a little bit anyway. And we'll get that we'll get this set up. What I want to do is it's just an experiment, really. I'm going to build this, and then I'm going to see whether or not it actually works. So that's the that's the plan here. So yeah, I don't think my MEK here is biting very well. This is pure MEK, baby. This is not a mix. Oh, I see what the issue is. I understand. It's okay. It's all good in the hood. Let me do this, because I don't think it matters just yet. Okay. Let me put the MEK away before I have a disaster, because I promise you, if I can have a disaster and knock something over, I will. I'm more than capable, I assure you. Okay, so let's just get this little box tacked down here, and we'll see. There we go. Let's see what we got. I love it. 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 You know, you just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Glue that will stick to anything sticks to nothing when the camera turns on. It's awesome. It's just awesome. It's kind of weird. I don't really know. I don't really know what. I don't really know where that comes from. It's some kind of weird Utopian curse. No. Okay. Let's get this turned on here, and let's see if this is worth continuing with here. So here's my little box, and it's providing quite a bit of light. So the plan for this, ladies and germs, is to use it like this, is to attach it here and have it light up the cargo bay. So what I've got to do now is I'm just going to try and tack this down with some masking tape for the purposes of finding out whether or not I'm wasting my time. So let me just put this in here like this. Let's put that on there like that. And then let me get the top. Well, I should say the bottom. How about that? How about if you knew your top from your bottom? Okay. Come on, cooperate. There we go. And okay. And we turn this over. Yeah, we get some really nice light. We get some really nice light. Let me set this to camera. I think you can see, so you've got this yellow band. That's light. And it's quite nice. And once the cockpit is in, that little light box will not, it'll disappear. And we get some nice light down here into the cockpit. So that's a result. It does work. And so now I have to see if I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to run everything here along the back and then down into the model. So, and it's a 9 volt setup. So that works, and I'm very happy with that. It's just enough light that when you look inside, you can see some of your work. Okay, then the question is do we do something in this cockpit? And whatever we do in this cockpit's got to be super subtle. If we put this in the cockpit, let's see what we get. Here is my cockpit, and as you remember, as I told you, I was going to put some gack on the underside. So when you look up from underneath, you'll see some gack. So I'm happy with that. I have installed the ladder, and here's the cockpit. So let me see here while we're all together, hanging out, enjoying ourselves, sipping on whatever we're sipping on. Coffee in the morning, booze in the afternoon. Take your pick. All right, I'm gonna go lengthwise, I think, like this, and then I'm gonna let me run this out through the window for now, so that it doesn't interfere, and then let me drop the cockpit in like such. There we go. Let me get this turned on, and we can have a look. Normally this is something I would do off camera, the sort of the testing and the decision making, but I thought it would be kind of fun just to kind of do it together, and then we can all make decisions together. Okay, so the light box looks pretty cool, and I have to say, guys, it's a winner. It is a winner. So you could build 2 of these light boxes and you're fine. You get enough light, and the box that I'll build for the top will be a little cleaner than that. We'll paint it up, and it looks pretty good, so that you can see inside. Everything lights up, and I feel like, okay, if we're going to do that, then we're going to all this trouble to put the details in it. With at least you've got some light in there, and it's kind of like, since the ramp is down and this thing is not in space, these are work lights. So I'm kind of okay with that. I feel like that's acceptable. That's acceptable. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, let me show you the cockpit with my little console all finished. Here's this. There we go. So my cockpit is all finished. So I'm very, very happy with that. I can actually glue that down. There's no reason not to, actually. Let me do that right now so that I don't fight with this anymore. Okay. Yeah, I worked quite hard on this console, if you can believe it or not. When I did some pre-shading on it, and I'm trying to use a color palette that makes sense, you know. And I felt like all the silvers, it just got too industrial, and it didn't feel warm. It didn't feel Battlestar Galactica kind of 70s, 80s television warm. I mean, even the reboot was warmer, you know. It wasn't. It didn't feel as dystopian to me as, you know, other types of sci-fi shows. Okay, so I've got, you know, and I've also got all of my little chairs painted up and detailed. Now I just have to figure out where they go, you know, because it's kind of, okay, you know, what are we doing here? But I think I think it makes sense to have them off to one side and all sort of sitting here, you know, so that you come up the stairs, and you come up the stairs, and then you've got a bank of seats right here, and everybody would be facing everybody. You know, it's very Southwest Airlines. This is not designed for, you know, luxury travel. It's, you know, get in your seats and we'll be there in 20 minutes, you know, Instacart food in the back kind of thing. And then we've just got 4 chairs for the front. Now, you know, they've supplied us with 5 chairs, so you could put an extra one maybe downstairs in the, you know, have somebody downstairs in like a jumper seat. That might be fun. I don't know. But so that's looking pretty cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create my other little light box. We'll get those installed, and then I think it's time for us to go back to the exterior and just do a little pre-shading and clean up those pegs before we glue it together, because I'm afraid, you know, I don't really fancy finishing the outsides or getting them close to finish, gluing it up and then trying to patch it. I don't want to do that. And because this kit is a resin kit, I'm most likely going to use some light curing putty if there's any seam issues. But I suspect there won't be, as long as those pegs are nice and clean and loose, and it can sit nicely. You know, if there are seams, and there probably will be, we'll address those. So we'll pre-shade, glue it together, and then we'll concentrate on exterior paint finishes. I think that's where we'll go. Stick around. Okay, we have a result. We have a really good result, and I'm really happy with it. So I've got my 2 light boxes in. One I've painted with a little silver around it. In case you look up to the ceiling, it looks like a lighting fixture. And the light box for the cargo bay is hidden by the rear of the cockpit. So that's good. So this is what it looks like. I've got one there, and I've got one here, and I've put them in my. I've just put them in some shrink tube so they look industrial. And we've run them off to the back. And they'll drop down into the back of the ship, where I have drilled a hole in the back for just a little hole for an umbilical that will allow me to plug this in from my battery box that the guys over at 3D Fig Lab are producing now, these battery boxes. And you know, I'm sure they'll start making them plain. They'll start making them more, much more sort of Trek world, or they'll make some, I mean, they'll make all different kinds. And the thing about it is these battery boxes, you can just sit it next to your ship. You don't have to be in a diorama. You can just sit it next to it and it looks perfectly fine. Or you can put it in a diorama and you can sit it on the top of the diorama. What I love about it is these industrial cables that we plug in. They're just Evans Design cable connectors that I've put in my shrink tubing, but they look wonderful. And you know, you can plug them in and unplug them, and off you go. You don't have to have this this kit. You don't have to have it lit, you know, or you could just unplug it. You can move this box around to other models and plug them in and show people. Gone are the days where you have to put a switch on on the model, unless you're going to put a 9-volt battery inside. I think this is a much cleaner way to go, guys. I really do. Okay, so I've got everything in here that I want to get in here. I've put my floor down with a little epoxy resin. That's gone off. It's fine. This feels quite substantial now, actually. So I'm not going to mess with my ramp just yet, because I don't want to knock it, hit it, or whatever. I've got to get some tape on here so I don't get any bleed of my white base that's going to go down now. I'm going to do what I'm going to do is, well, we're going to hit it with a Tamiya white, and then we're going to finish it off with acrylics. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from a white, and I'm going to start taking it down shade by shade by shade and blend those, because it's really difficult to paint something that's white and not have any contrast. It needs contrast. It needs some depth, and the only way you can do that is by blending color. Okay, so before I go away and do all of that, I did want to talk quickly about these locator pins. They're excellent. They're everywhere, and mine are covered in gunk. So I'm going to take some extra time and clean those out and make sure that those locator pins are all pristine and a little wide, so that they, there's no pressure fit to them, because I'm worried about snapping something when I put this together, and I also want to try and get as clean of a seal as I can. Okay, so I'm gonna tape these up, get a coat of white primer on this, now hang on here. Yeah, I'm going to get a coat of white primer on it, and then I'm going to do my pre-shading, and then I'm going to carry on with my whites. I had to think about that for a second. The old brain wasn't firing. Okay, I'm going to clean up everything here. Really super happy with just a little bit of lighting. Oh, also, I've got some industrial stuff here. This is kind of fun in the 1/72 scale. Very cool. They're just a couple of little kits here for. I think we showed you these in the in the preview. Little details that I'm going to be able to dress up my cargo bay with. So that'll be fun. We'll put one, I don't know where we'll put one. We'll put this stuff, but we'll put it here somewhere, and we'll have our little, be helpful if you could see something, and our little tow bar there, and our lam ram will go in here. Now, if you want to go crazy, And crazy's my middle word, my middle name, my middle word. I went off script and it all sounded lame. Okay. If you want to, you could take this little land ram, which I'm going to try and actually put a little bit of, just a little bit of this diffusion here. So, you know, just a little bit, I think. I'm not sure. But if you wanted to, you could get a little bit of red light in here. So that when you look up in here, you know, it looks like the lights are on inside. I sure wish these were in two pieces. Mine came as one piece. I wonder if it was just like a demo piece that he sent to me. But mine was already glued together. So, I mean, you know, it's all good. It's all good. But I think, you know, if you're going to go to the trouble of putting this inside, I think it might be fun to definitely get some light in it. I don't know. I think you should. But then the problem is I've got so many orifices here. It'll just look alive if something is on inside. See here, hang on. I've got a light here on the table. And while you're here, and you got nothing better to do, you're here. I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that you're here and see if this SMD chip excites any of us. Hang on. Oh, this one's blue, which is kind of fun. Oh yes, yeah. You have to do it, and I can hide it. You won't see it, but look at this. Look, makes a difference, right? Makes a difference. It really does. And I love that blue juxtaposed against the black. And I used a rubber black because it's got a little blue in it, so it works. Well, that's fun. Okay, I'm going to get this in here. I'm going to get this primed. I'm going to get some pre-shading on this, and maybe we'll do some, you know, some painting on the bench. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how we go. Getting exciting. So I'm about to do some pre-shading. I've laid down a thin layer, a very thin layer of the Tamiya white primer. And I let that dry thoroughly overnight. I found, interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys have similar experiences. Now, obviously, climate and everything else makes a huge difference. The shop, well, in California here, the shop's kept at 75 degrees all year round. I do that primarily for the resin printers and also for the paint and varnish and everything else. Your temperatures vary, obviously, depending on where you are. Some of you are in extremely cold conditions or have serious seasons, and then, of course, you know, very difficult to maintain temperature. But I have found, interestingly enough, that leaving these to dry overnight, a good 24 hours, makes a huge difference in terms of not only being able to use washes on them, but also being able to actually get a much different result with my painting. I'm curious to know what you guys, how you guys feel about that. Before I dive into my pre-shading, which I promise you, it's not a tutorial. It's not a tutorial. We're just hanging out. But I just wanted you to see the steps that I'm taking to get this kit finished. But before I do, I thought it would be fun for us to look at the engines. Now, Keith and the great people over at Cosmic Models, who we are shamelessly promoting in this episode, do a fine job See, I'm going to pull this towards me just a little bit and then slide. There we go. There you go, Keith. These models are just beautifully thought through for the most part. They really are. And you'll notice here on the back that every one of them is marked. And so you can't go wrong. And so this is your top right? And so when you do your test fit, which I'm doing just because I want to make sure that I see what I'm going to be getting into. Now there's just a little bit of sanding that I think I'm going to need to do to see if I can sit this down. Now, curiously enough, there is a curb in this model, and these are designed to sit in that curb quite nicely. And if you sort of move it around a little bit, you'll find that perfect sweet spot. Just a little bit. I can clean that up just a little bit. The object of the exercise is to avoid any kind of puttying in there that you can't clean up and look nice and clean. But that looks pretty good. And then here's the top left. So we start to see the model with its engines on. And that's pretty cool. So I'm happy to take a look at it now in its sort of final. And here's your left side. Now, the nice thing about the side engines is they're going to cover up quite a bit of seam. So that's this one, and then the other one drops in like that. And there you go, all four engines, and they look really cool on. You could definitely go to town if you wanted to. If you wanted to light those engines up, you certainly could. And I've chosen not to, but you certainly could, and you'd be fine. I've got quite a bit of gack here that I'm going to get some pre-shading into, and so that's what we're doing right now. We're going to do a little bit of pre-shading. I'm going to put some gloves on because I am notorious for touching something and then touching the model. I'm just absolutely, I'm known for it globally. You'll be driving down the street and people will say, oh, that's the guy who touches his model and it's still wet and then touches another part of it. Do you know him? Like, oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to be using Vallejo's surface primer for my pre-shading. I should be sufficiently thin, but I'm going to get it even thinner. I'm going to turn on the, well, not turn it on, I'm going to plug in the compressor. So I want to apologize in advance for the noise, but you know, such is life. Now, this surface primer it's pretty decent, you know, thickness-wise, it's pretty decent. But I think just thinning your paints, sometimes just even a little more than you think you need to, makes a huge difference. And I'm putting them in this what I call it's the Bugatti of airbrushes. I've got my Iwata CMC out, and you know you're in rarefied air on how it's packaged, because they really send you quite an impressive package. But also, they denote the higher end brushes by changing up your trigger, which is not round in these brushes, it's actually square. Okay, I've got a really nice perfect consistency here, so I'm gonna set that somewhere where it can't hurt me. I'm gonna test my spray here. Yeah, I'm perfect. Well, I'm not perfect. It's okay. So I'm going to do a little pre-shading here. Sometimes I like to use my thumb just to kind of gauge where I'm at. get going. You don't have to be perfect, but and I like the blurriness, you know, so I don't like a perfect line, but okay, I just realized you're just staring at me, staring at this. Let's get you closer. Apologize for that. Here we go. So there we go. And I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm deliberately trying to be blurry, but sometimes a little thicker in some places, thinner in others. But this is going to make a huge difference. I know you guys know that. Like I said, not a tutorial. If you come here, you're coming here just to hang with me, but also to get some extremely, and I mean extremely marginal modeling advice. You will always get that here as I learn. And I know sometimes you guys roll your eyes at that, and I don't mean to be facetious. I'm not trying to be. What I'm trying to say is that I am learning. I don't claim to be a master modeler. I claim to be a student who enjoys the company of some really fun modelers and some really huge, talented people. I'm so grateful to know who I learn from all the time by watching their videos and hanging with them or talking to them or looking at their work. And especially when I go to Wonderfest and I can get my big fat head down close to these models and take a look at how beautiful some of these paint jobs are, just the use of color and blending and everything, and it really stimulates your mind. So happy to do it. And when I feel like I've conquered something, I try to be honest about that, or I try to get excited about it and say, hey, I'm better now at this than I ever was. And that's kind of exciting. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here, and I don't want to take up any more clock with you watching me do this and listening to this annoying compressor, because I've got a little bit of a leak here in my valve. But she's doing a great job. So I'm going to keep going on my pre-shading and get everything pre-shaded. And then we'll start to look at, we'll go back to the inside, because we're going to finish up that cockpit, get everything wired up, seal her up, and then we can start on the outside and go towards the finish. The only other thing I want to say before I leave you in this segment is that I have not put in my flaps, they're not they're not flaps. They're not flaps. They are they're the landing gear bay doors. How about that? I have not put mine on yet. I do have my landing gears, but I'm not putting those on just yet. I know that it makes sense to do it, because then the ship is off. It's off the. It's off. God, you're annoying. You are so annoying. It's off the surface. You can put it down on something and it's a little easier to paint. But I'm not worried. I'm not too concerned about that, because once I've gotten this all pre-shaded and I'm ready to go, then I'm going to concentrate on the top and then the bottom. But where the blending needs to happen is on these seams, obviously, and as it dies underneath. And I don't need these on for that. And besides, these bay doors are incredibly thin. I mean, they're going to snap. They're going to snap. They're just very thin. So anyway, I don't want them on right now, and there's no need to put them on right now. So I'll continue with my pre-shading. And then we'll come back when the pre-shading is done. I've separated the halves, and we're back at the interior, hooking up the wires and getting the cockpit finished before we close up. Okay, stick around. I thought to myself, if I don't pop in and show this visual to you, it's just not going to be appreciated. First of all, I'm blind as a bat, so these help me look at figures. And I got to be brutally honest with you. I do not like painting little figures. I just don't. So what I've learned is that companies like Display and, of course, Gundam make markers and acrylic paint, sponge-tipped paint nibs. Now, I know, once again, they're all out there going, Phil, we know. Just carry on. Okay, but there's 4 of us who didn't. And I'm one of them, and I managed to get a hold of a set of my Display pens, and they're a game changer for small details, control pad. I mean, you name it. I don't even, the list, you don't even need to be told, right? The list is awesome. And then, of course, you don't have to pull out all your little brushes and paints. You can go to town on these. So the only set that I don't have, and I just discovered it, is Display makes a set for faces. And so I've ordered those. They're not here yet. So I had to use some flesh tone paint, which is not the end of the world because it's just a little dab. But the rest of it, I'm going to town with these markers. And when I put my little magnifiers on, I realize that some of these little faces, bless their hearts, they're aliens. They're not humans. So I'm not going to paint them with flesh tones. I'm going to use greens and blues. Why not? Alien colors. But yeah, I'm going to get these figures all cleaned up. I've got the cockpit kind of as I want it. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I did want to pop in and show you how amazing I look with my very impressive magnifiers on. I just look very important, and I needed to share that with you. Okay. Well, something went flying. I don't know what it is, but there you go. It went flying, so please wish it well. And we'll wish it Godspeed on its journey to wherever it is. And it'll either survive the vacuum cleaner, because I'll see it. And yeah. Okay, quick discussion here about placement of the cockpit. I've got the 2 outside control surfaces manned. I've got the 2 inside ones not manned. Now my philosophy here is that this shuttle is getting ready for takeoff. It is not in flight. It hasn't left ground. It's prepping. Everybody's arriving. Everything's getting installed. And so what I'm doing is I'm placing my seats in this configuration. I'm going to take them all down this line. I'm not going to have any over here. My rationale for this is because if you think about an aircraft and you think about how things were arranged on an aircraft, you go to your seats, right? You go to these banks of seats. So my idea here is that all of the passenger seats on this are in a line. It feels much more like an aircraft to me. And then I'm going to have people milling around because we don't have a railing around this. I'm not going to put one in, but obviously in flight you're buckled in, and you're not going up and down these stairs. There is this I guess I would call it a door, I suppose, right there. And this door goes to, I don't know, the food area, whatever. Maybe you don't get food. Maybe you know it's a pressurized thing to the cargo bay. But anyway, that's my alignment strategy. And then I'm gonna sit everybody down accordingly. Now not everybody has arrived. Everybody is arriving. There's different squadrons. There's different, you know, they're all doing sort of different things. So I'm feeling like not everybody is here. Now maybe this is not a full flight. I don't know. Maybe this is a flight that is only, maybe it's a very classified flight. I don't know. Haven't got a clue. But there they are. And then I've got my guys. Now my pilots and engineers for my little world are from I'm going to put some silver on that, I think, if I can find some. Let's see here. Where is my... There it is. Sorry, I just noticed he has a pad in his hand, and I need to get just a little bit of color on that. Otherwise, it looks kind of weird. There. Okay. I mean, you don't see much of this anyway, but now I've got to take these off of here, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that I don't break something. I don't think I'm going to break something, but you never know. No. We did that live, folks. How about that? I did that without a net. I did that. Okay, I'm going to push this back. There we go. And now this is a, you know, remember, well, you won't remember. You don't care. But, you know, it's going to be so hard to see any of this. It really is. Okay, that looks pretty cool. And I've got one more, and this one is pointing to something and saying, "Hey, we've got a flare rod out of skew on our treadle, and that needs to be addressed." This one is your pointy, but these are your pilot-ish kind of characters. Okay. There we go. Okay. Not terrible. And then I've got some pilots and I've got some other personnel that I'm going to put around the deck. And that'll be the cockpit completed. And then it'll be ready to permanently install. Now, my plan is to close up the shuttle, close it up, and then start my painting, which means that my masking tape is going to have to come off. Now, I could conceivably just, you know, for the first coat. In fact, I don't see why not. The concern that I have is if I don't clean this up, then I've got that seam line that hasn't really been addressed properly. And I just don't want to spend the rest of my life cleaning that up. So for me, in my head, it's much easier for me to close it up and then see what needs to be puttied and then go for my painting process. I think I'm going to stick to my plan. Anyway. Just wanted to share with you the figures going in. It's sort of exciting, and I think I'll bring you back as soon as I've got this thing together, and we're going to start working on final paint, and we'll install the engines, and we'll take a look and see what needs to be puttied there. But that's about it. I mean, I've got my Lantran, and I've got a few bits and bobs that need to be sat in. We'll do final wiring as well. We'll come back for that in just a second. Okay, I'm popping in just for a second to memorialize where I am and what I've been doing. Had I have left the cameras running, it would have been an hour and 45 minutes of just watching me do basic things. So I try to do a little bit of everything, but for those of you who feel like it's not enough, I apologize, but it just wouldn't make a lot of sense. Okay, lighting test is good, and my cockpit figures are in, the seats are in. I had a small difficulty with this front set of seats. It wasn't over enough, and so it was biting on the side here, but everything has gone together quite well. And my light for my cockpit is in. I had to move one of my figures. They were actually too tall for the setup. The interesting thing about the way this kit is designed is the actual cockpit itself has to sit on these beams. It sits on them. It doesn't sit in them. I think it would have been a better situation if this was designed just a little slightly differently, where these beams were a little more raised and there was a groove for this to slide in and sit nicely. It's the kind of thing that, you know, makes a difference, not only for average modelers, but for me, who is not average. It's not average, but well, I'm average, but slightly above, you know, skill level to do this. But I just feel like, yes, this is an expensive kit, and yes, it clearly states it's not for beginners. But I do believe that there's some engineering things that could make this even more perfect. Because don't get me wrong, it's a great kit. I'm excited for you. I can't show you right now, but I'm excited for you to see the light in the land ram. I think that was a good choice, and I think that the two lights to light up the undercarriage and the cockpit are going to be just fine. And so I've got a couple of these little figures here. Well, not figures, these little elements that I'm gonna place. I'm gonna figure out how to place these just alongside here, and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna clean all this up, connect all my wiring, and I'm gonna close my shell. I'm gonna close it permanently. I'm thinking about a window. I'm thinking about it. If I do, you'll see it in the next update. But if I don't, when we come back, this will all be closed up. Exciting. I'm back on the belly. I've done all my blending coats, and she's looking really good now. Don't freak out in the light, because if it's all washed out, it's not, I assure you. And you know we do beauty shots now at the end, so don't worry about it. Trust me when I tell you that I've been doing a little bit of detail work here. So we've got some scorch marks, and I'm working on these little doors, the bay doors, and just adding just a little bit of detail with my acrylic pens to pick out the just the little I guess bolts or what have you, and then I'm just dragging an acrylic pen. It's paint in one of these felt tips, and I'm just absolutely in love with these, and fantastic for detail. So I'm just picking out a little bit of metal on those, and just to give it a little bit of pop. And so that's good. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So what I love about these little pens is you don't have to pull out all your brushes. You get really accurate little marks, little details, and it's a really good acrylic paint. So you know that you're keeping in the acrylics. So that's good. So I think I've done, see, have I done all of these? Nope, I've got one more to do. And then I can get these on, and then once these are on, I can I'm able to sort of get that first gloss coat on so that I can work on decals. That will mean that we are dangerously close, which is always very exciting. So I think that's good. Might want to pick out on these just a little bit on these landing gears, you know, just so that it's not bland. Just a little bit. I think that's good. Okay, so I am going to now, I'm going to install my landing gears and my landing gear doors, because I'm feeling pretty confident now that I'm not going to snap anything, although, you know, it can happen. So the way these work is these have to go in first. So I'll install these, and then the landing gear itself goes in after that. That's the way they're designed. So I'm going to install these. Now, before I go crazy, though, it's interesting. I know that there is a particular way these have to go in, and I'm looking to see if there's a front and a back here. I don't think there is. I'm just going to sort of drop these in randomly first and see whether or not I've got an issue. I mean, I can see, well, that's interesting. So that just doesn't fit. That one just doesn't fit. And it doesn't fit there too, which leads me to believe that there is a long and a short. And of course, sure enough, as my name is fill in the blank, there is a long and a short. And that's why, yeah, there's a long and a short. And these interestingly enough, are incredibly fragile. I mean, there's not a lot of room there, and there's a little bit of warpage, and so the risk of a snap here is high, very, very high. Okay, that's better. And then let's try this one here. Yeah, okay. So there's a bit of warpage here. So I don't want to force these on camera and snap something. So I'm going to go ahead and install these off camera, if you don't mind. Don't be upset with me. And then I'll get these landing gears in, and then we'll take a look at that. I know. Well, listen, I'd love to put the camera up straight up here and play with it and watch it snap, and then you all snigger. You know, let's all laugh at Phil Day. Not happening today. Today, we're going to peacefully and quietly and zenly glue in our barn pieces. If I snap something, I'll cop to it and I'll let you know. All right? Okay, they're in. Looking pretty good. Now, you want to know if I snap one, don't you? Yes, you do. Come on. You go, yeah. Well, all right, maybe I do. I did. I snapped my rear left one. But beautifully, you can't tell because of the way this is all set up. So you can't tell it snapped, but it did snap. Big caution to you. They're very fragile. But they're in, and they look pretty cool. And everything is sufficiently dusted for now. All the details are in. So what I want to do now is I want to be careful how I handle this. but I want to put my engines on. I want to glue them on. They're ready to go. I'm going to glue those on, and if there's any seamage, I'll point that out to you, and we might have to putty those. I'm not sure, but I'm very, very, very happy with the way this came together, and so that's pretty good. And I've got these sort of relatively ugly seams in the back. We talked about that earlier, but they're hidden by the side engines. So that's good. So engines have to go on, and then we're ready for a clear coat, and then we can do decals. The engines are on and nobody's home was the joke, but it fell right on its face. The engines are on, and really happy with it. I've done a little bit of precursor weathering just before I put the engines down, and then we'll clean that up and blend it in and do all of that nonsense as we get closer. But yeah, they're on, and I'm happy with them. They're aligned correctly. So if you wanted to, you know, do the old stand up trick, there they are. They're nice and level, nice and square, and everything is on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to give it a clear coat, and then we'll work on decals. Very nice. I can't believe we've gotten to this point, but we've gotten to this point, and I'm super happy with it. Now I know it may look a complete bleached out mess, but I promise you it isn't. It isn't. And when we get the lights down and we're able to finish everything, you'll see it looks pretty cool. A couple of details to go on. Obviously, I've got the ramp that has to go on, and I've got a couple of hydraulic pieces that need to go on, and that completes the model. But I don't want to do any of that until she's been clear coated. So I'm gonna sort of leave her alone and let her just kind of chill for the moment. Okay, we'll come back when I'm doing decals. We're decaling, or decaling, or decaling, or I always thought it was very funny, you know, this whole kind of pond that separates the decals from the decals. And it's like, who's right and who's wrong? Is it a decal or a decal? I'll let you decide. And you'll tell me. Okay. Really having a lot of fun with this. Now it's sort of starting to mature. We're in the decal stage, and I've started to do a little panel lines and a little bit of weathering, because I want to get some things sort of situated before I do other things. I've got the main body of the decals on, and there's not a lot actually for the there's not a lot for you to really play with. But they go on quite nicely. I don't know what it is, but it's interesting. Depending on the kind of decals that you're using and where they're from and who's printed them and how they're printed and all this nonsense, you get different reactions, right? So we've had those decals. We've all had them. The decals that take 3 millionths of a second, and they come off and start to you know, and they're wonderful. You've got and everything in between. These are pretty decent, but you do have to leave them in the water for a good period of time. Don't be afraid to leave the larger ones, especially in the water, for at least 10 to 15 seconds, lukewarm water, and then get them out and really let them sit, because otherwise you'll do what I do. I can tear them. I'm just saying. Okay, so we've got a couple of just little tiny arrows we've got to get get on here, and we'll see if we can. This is probably better. Let's get these on. These belong in this little trench right here. So we'll. There I go. Do something on camera, and you'll have so much fun just watching one of these things tear on you. They're very good decals, don't get me wrong, but I just think that sometimes you don't get a great result, but that's fine. That's a good result. That's a decent result. So that's going to be just fine. We'll put this last one on here, and then we'll let these set up. And I've got a few I've got to put on the other side, on the sides. There's some triangles, and there's some other See, this is what happens when you try to do something close up. You can't do it because my fat head gets in the way. So you'll have to stay back there, up there in the clouds. Okay. I said, you know what? I'll do some decaling on camera. It'll be awesome. No. There we go. Just make sure that's going to come down just a little bit. You notice how quiet I'm getting? Because I'm trying to concentrate. Okay. So, looks like based on the card here, you've got these side ones, which is your emblem and your logo. Now there is a little bit of distressing here going on, so I've got a little bit of weathering to do afterwards, which is fine because I'm doing that everywhere else, so I might as well. It's a good thing to know. I've got a little bit of cleaning up to do with the weathering. I've got these little triangles I have to put on, and they're going to go. Let's see, where are they going? Oh, they're going here on the sides, but this surface is flat and that surface is angled, so I'm a little confused. But I'm going to put them here. There's one on the tank in the back. I can see. I've got something. I've got to get one on. I've got to get a couple on in the tanks, a couple on the engines. There's a few little doodads that go here on these bumped surfaces, so we'll get those on. Then there's a couple of the warning labels, and they looks like they go on the lower portions of the leg, so we'll get those on. And then there's just there's a couple of lone decals on the bottom, just a few. It doesn't look like there's an awful lot. Oh, and some triangles down by the doors. And hang on, and what's 13? Let's see here. Oh, it's just some writing. Looks like some writing. Oh, and some stuff in the back. Yeah, I've got just lots of little stuff that I'm doing. Lots of little stuff. But so we're doing decals, and as soon as the decals are done, I'm going to I'm going to let them dry overnight. I'm going to give this the whole night to sort of do its thing. And while that's happening, I will. I'll just make sure that I'll go around and make sure there's nothing untoward here that doesn't need to be dealt with, and we'll go from there. So decals are going on really well. I'm super happy. I'm super happy with it, and it's starting to take shape. And I think you'll agree. It's interesting. And even in the camera here, this is, well, it's 5 shades of color, starting with grays and going from off-whites to whites with a light dusting of my insignia. And it is amazing to see the difference that you start to get on your paintwork when you really are able to get those contrasts from the various different colors. That's cool. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm also going to here. I'm gonna get in here, and I'm gonna do a little more work in here. I've started to do some work. I put some clear in this in the top of this bell, and in this little kind of area right here. Not sure what it is, but I just felt like I wanted to do that just to give it a little bit of color, you know, a little bit of pop. Okay, so I'm going to continue to work on my decals. We are dangerously close here. I've got the ramp to get in, and I've got the hydraulics for the ramp, and they'll go in final. I did put on the table my Rick Sternbach inspired, well, creations. I don't know if you guys are aware of his decals that he makes. There's a company called Decal Alternatives, and they produce some Rick Sternbach decals, and so and they're fine for the scale. I pulled them out and put them on the table just in case I want to add a couple of things. They're beautiful decals, beautiful, crisp, really well done, really well done. And if I get you even closer and we go back, you can just see the quality of these. And look at that. Do you notice in the reflection? They're all cut. Beautiful. You don't have to fight. You don't have to fight with those decals. So there's a couple on here that I think I might use. We'll see. But definitely, if you don't have a set of his aftermarket decals, I think they're worth it. I really do. So definitely check those. Definitely check those out. Okay, I'm gonna plow on. I'm going to plow on here, and I think we'll come back when I'm ready to install the ramp and do final looks. We are so close. I can feel this thing coming into land. Stick around. Just finishing putting the ramp onto the front of the shuttle and getting the hydraulics in. I think everything is where it needs to be. I'm pretty sure I'm okay. I was just making sure that these are steady here before I close up shop. You know, this one's a little loosey-goosey. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on that to finish that. Just a little bit, and what I can do is I can yeah, that pushed away there. That's pretty good. I don't think that's going anywhere. That's looking pretty good. Okay. I think, folks, we're finished. I'm pretty happy with her. So what I'm going to do is I've given her a coat of matte, and so I'm at a point now where I sort of can show you last look. So let's get this set up for finals. I'll take my beauty shots and we'll go around and we'll look at this thing of beauty from cosmic scale models, the Colonial Shuttle, the cosmic scale models kit, all resin kit. So anyway, I'll set up, I'll take some beauty shots, we'll come back and I'll give you final thoughts. Another build in the can, and this one was really delightful. It absolutely was. It was a premium kit from Keith over at Cosmic Scale Models. If you're interested in picking up this kit, there's all the information you need to know. There it is. Reach out, go shopping, have fun, treat yourself. He's a first-class gentleman, and seeing his sort of mobile store in Telford was ridiculous. I mean, I was like a kid in a candy store. I always am, though, when I go to a hobby shop. I can't help myself. Beautiful 3D resin printed kit, great instructions, beautifully boxed. Shipping is awesome. There are no issues. Some of the smaller parts are pretty delicate. If I had to say, the undercarriage is a little tricky. Be careful, things can snap. And if I was being super picky, perhaps if you were going to light this, I would say perhaps a little more thought into how to channel run wires and create an element in the model that because they're 3D printed, it's not mass produced. You can design in an element that allows you to light these. I've started working with these little umbilical cords because I think they look like they look like fuel lines of some kind. And what I love about them is I can get my battery box here, and you can get this from the guys over at 3D Fig Lab, and they make this one. I'm sure they'll start. I'm going to be talking to them about making several different designs for battery boxes. And then what you do is you just plug your battery box in, and this is super helpful if you're going to take these things to shows, right? And you can turn them on, and you can turn them on, and I'll point this to camera so that you can see the lights are on. It's all washed out at the moment. Boy, I do not have a single camera angle that is helpful. How about that? Not one camera angle that's helpful. Okay, this might be your best bet, but no, not helpful. There, you can. Okay, that's pretty good. You can see that's a cool lens flare. The lights are on. Anyway, we'll look at some photos in a second. I don't know why I'm struggling to show you something. It's a waste of time. But I love these battery boxes. And if you're not into a diorama situation, or you don't want to be in a diorama situation, this is a really fun way to go. And my umbilicals are slightly too long. I can cut them down. But they're great fun, and they make it a real pleasure to work with. Great. Lots of fun details on this, and it was an absolute pleasure to build. So this is the shuttle from Battlestar Galactica. I guess we call it the Colonial Shuttle Mark II. It's like, how sad is it that I knew that, but my brain is going, sorry, we're not here at the moment. Can you call back in a week? Okay, let's take a look at some beauty pictures, final, and then we'll wrap this up. So here we are in sort of beauty mode, and what I tried to do was I tried to age down the decals. I thought they were a little too clean for me. If this thing is, it's flying from planets to spaceships and back. When it goes through the Earth's atmosphere or any planet's atmosphere, it's going to get beaten up. I mean, this is a workhorse. This is not a beauty thing. So I tried to do a sort of my interpretation of workhorse. So this is a nice side view. Here's another shot with everything in place. Um, the lighting this up, I do think makes a difference. There's lots of fun details inside, and so you do get to see quite a few of those. I'm pretty happy with that. Here's just a little side view of the ship, which I like. Here's a top view. Again, I made an effort to try and age this down. And I used the AK Interactive paints, and I went through their white system. It's a 5-step process, and I like that a lot. I've got panel liner on here, and that made a little bit of difference. I detailed up the back to the best as I could. I added a little bit of Tamiya clear blue. You can see it's popping there, and I think it was sufficient. I didn't want to do any more. This is my favorite shot of all. This really shows the inside of the ship quite beautifully. I love the cargo netting that I put on the sides of the ship. I think that added a tremendous amount. And of course, adding that gack to the ceiling in the foreground, when you look up at the top there, you're not looking at something plain, you're looking at some nice detail. And of course, the blue light in the lam ram, I think was just I just love it. I just think it really creates the right atmosphere for this. And of course, the light upstairs shining through the staircase, I think really puts a button on that. And of course, here's one just to sort of show you the blue light popping through the bottom, and of course the light in the cockpit. Very, very cool. So all in all, I would say this was fun. I mean, obviously, you're not supposed to get within a foot of these. Although when you go to Wonderfest, these models, they're so beautifully done. You can stick your nose all the way up close, and very hard to spot any imperfections. That's where you need to be if you're going to take this kind of thing to a show. So there it is the Colonial Shuttle Mark II from Cosmic Scale Models. Thank you, Keith, for your kindness and your friendship, and I really appreciate you. Go check out Cosmic Scale Models. Hey, we're probably going to go back to, I think we're going to go back to Star Wars in the next build. I'm seriously considering a Star Wars build. I feel like I need to get one in my system. I don't know. There's so much I want to do. I got to go back to Owen Allen. I got all kinds of things I have to do. But this concludes the shuttle, and I'm glad I've got it in my collection. Hey guys, as always, please, I wish all of you be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.